touch, they break, they steal, no one here is free. Here they come for thee, unless you listen to Dave and Stacie.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions with my co-host Stacie here to talk about From Season 3, Episode 6, titled Scar Tissue. The episode's description reads as follows. Fatima and Ellis make a big decision about her pregnancy. Boyd fears for the future of his family. Tensions rise in the Matthews family. Randall opens up to Muriel about his fears. The episode was written by Kristen Layden and John Griffin and directed by Alexandra LaRoche. Before we go any further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a spoiler-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms this podcast is now available on, please follow and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to my channel. Alright, shout-outs this week. I got Shaked1, and I believe this is a new person commenting. He says that he loves our commentary, but he's a little worried. He's wondering if we feel like the show is going to get dragged out without any real answers, because it is from the creators of Lost. Okay, so first of all, I want to address the from the creators of Lost bit.
Yeah.
None of the people in this series actually show ran Lost, for starters. Right. Like, the original showrunners of that series are not involved in the series at all.
Correct.
But there is talent, like John Griffin, for instance, and Jack Bender,
right,
who were involved with Lost.
John and Jack both worked on Lost, but no, they were not the creative forces behind Lost.
Right.
But they did write and direct for Lost.
So I feel like their power within that show was far less than their power within this show.
Right.
So that's for starters. And no, I do not believe that they're going to drag this out forever. They have said that there's a 5-season plan, and that they're going to tell their story within 5 seasons.
And they've said many times that they know exactly where they're going. Everything is storyboarded out. I trust them.
Yes, and I'm going to trust them as well.
And also, I loved Lost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is, it went crazy.
It did. It went a little crazy, and yes, they admitted like they didn't always know exactly where they were going. But given that, I think they did an okay job putting it together.
Right. Plus, in the middle of that, there was a writer's strike.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, that affected production of that series.
But yeah, I feel like I have no concerns about where we're going. I'm along for the ride, and if it seems like things don't make sense, that's because they're not supposed to. It doesn't mean that they don't have a plan.
Right. So
now, if that's something we can talk about once the series is over, great, we can have that conversation then. But as of right now, we don't know where this is going. So why are you gonna, be worried about where it's going? Just let it go there.
Right. Okay. So SRH said that there was a person in Colony House who said, "Get the windows boarded up," after the bullet went through the windows. That's something I completely missed.
Yeah, me as well. And I do know that was a topic of discussion.
Yes.
On social media this week.
So that invalidates my concerns about the house basically not being secured. I still think it's quite possible that they were actually in no danger, that the monsters were not actually going to come for them either way.
They were pretty busy with whatever the heck they were doing with Randall.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And Latrice says that she's going to check out Under the Dome, the book, on your recommendation. And she also kind of felt like Tabitha should have stayed in the real world longer, but is glad that they didn't drag out the reunion between her and Jim.
Yeah.
Which based on this episode is not necessarily the greatest thing for either one of them. But, Stacie, your thoughts on this week's episode?
Okay, so what happens in this episode? A whole lot of people fighting and not necessarily getting along with each other.
I mean, that's been a season-long thing.
Sure, but I feel like relationships are really unraveling at this point. Specifically within the Matthews family. They're all at odds. Every one of them is in a miserable place. Don't feel like it's going great for them at all.
Right.
I'm very curious what Jade's got scoping out. He's got some interesting stuff happening.
Yes.
He's theorizing and plotting and putting stuff on the walls, and I'm here for that. I'm here for whatever Jade comes up with. He's a smart guy. I think he's gonna figure something out. So I'm interested in those scenes. We get to see our buddy Reed Price again.
Yes, Reed Price
was
reprising
very
his role as
excited
Tom.
to see dead Tom on our screen.
Yes.
And it was a very humorous scene.
It was,
I think,
it was.
between Tom and Jade.
You
I
know,
loved that.
I was actually kind of curious if Reed Price was even acting because his character is like very jovial, and I'm like, is that just Reed Price like happy to be back on the set of From?
Maybe.
So yeah, I was actually curious if that was even acting on his part, but yeah, that was a very funny
Victor
scene.
and Henry, I'm enjoying watching how their relationship is progressing. I find that interesting. Still don't know where we're going with the Jasper storyline.
Yeah. That just gets weirder and weirder. Okay, so I guess next episode we're going to interrogate a puppet.
We are, but we've been waiting for that for a few weeks now. And then there's the whole Fatima pregnancy thing. I don't know where that's going exactly. I don't think I love it, though.
No. My literal note is, WTF? Like, what the hell? But yeah, some interesting stuff there. Like, I don't know what they're saying. Like, but yeah, we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah. So I feel like overall this episode's a little more disjointed than some of them have been.
Yeah.
Where everybody just kind of has their own storyline now and none of it's connecting at all.
Right.
I feel like they're all just kind of wailing in different directions a little bit.
Right. So yeah.
Which isn't unusual for them.
No.
But
so yeah, I think this is a good episode. I don't think it's as strong as some of the other ones.
yeah, it's definitely not like the highlight episode of the season.
No, definitely not. All right, do we have anything else to say before diving in?
Let's go for the scene by scene.
All right, so we begin with the Matthews. Tabitha can't sleep because of a nightmare, and she feels like she should have been done more when she was in the real world. This quickly devolves into an argument, a typical couple's argument, over non-typical stuff, I might add. She eventually calls him out for shutting down in the wake of Thomas's death. All right, so it's hard to make judgments on these two as a couple, like who's right, who's wrong, because we were not there.
Right.
However, some of the things that Tabitha accuses Jim of seems consistent with the things that we have seen from Jim.
Based on what we know about both of them,
Yeah.
I've got a feeling they both handled it very poorly.
Yes.
Because they both handle everything very poorly.
Yeah, I think there's like a comment on Facebook that was something along the lines of, well, now that Tabitha is back, they can be shitty parents again
I
together.
saw that.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't help but agree.
Like, one of the things he says is like, you know, who do you think held the kids together while you were running off doing whatever you were doing? And she's like, you act like I was on a vacation. And I'm like, really, Jim? You held the kids together?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. No, you went off on your own little adventure.
You did not hold kids together.
No. And you left them in precarious situations multiple times, I should add. So I don't really have any sympathy for Jim.
Yeah.
I honestly do not.
And we're basically reminded at this point, like, yeah, they were in the middle of divorce a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And just because they made nice here, like, things are not all okay for them.
Right. And then we have her credit. I think this is the last time we see Jim in this episode.
Yes, because he goes off to the lake.
I can't say I'm too upset about that. But anyway, we come back from the credits after K Sarah. Julie is waking up. She asks about her dad. He's gone off to the scary statue land to get more food. And it becomes clear that she heard the fighting. And on the bright side, this means that things are back to normal.
Yeah, so Julie is back to being Julie and being pissy with her parents because she's tired of them fighting, and I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, things are going back to the not so great normal for this family.
So Jade shows Boyd his board, and Boyd doesn't think this is the deal that Jade seems to think it is. Jade sounds crazy, talking about wormholes, this and that.
Yeah, so he's got a cardboard drawing of the bottle tree on the wall in the bar, and all the slips of paper with the numbers on it are hung nearby. He suggests that they represent some sort of code or algorithm. And he says that Tabitha must have experienced a quantum event, maybe a dimensional rift instead of a wormhole. And he suggests that both places, Fromville and Camden, exist in the same space but in different dimensions.
Interesting.
So he's like, maybe we really are in the same exact place, but just in a different dimension, in a different realm of reality, if you will. Like I've often quoted.
I've always called it a pocket universe.
Like remember when we were talking about the ruins?
Yes.
And Martin's chamber, how they're like the same but different.
Yes.
And it might have been like a different time, but maybe it was just a different plane of reality.
Perhaps.
So he's suggesting maybe something like that. So maybe the spot where the hikers found her in Camden literally is where the tower is, the lighthouse.
Gotcha.
And if that's the case, is the faraway bottle tree equal to the spot where the bottle tree in the park is that Tabitha was going towards?
That would be interesting.
Is it the same tree but in two different dimensions?
And Boyd ends up telling about the other bottle tree, tells him that there was a number inside, and it turns out to be a number that also was in the teleporting tree.
Yeah, 1864. So this confirms for us, we weren't 100% before as an audience, that yes, these are supposed to be two different trees. The tree Boyd and Sarah found in season 1 that was not a faraway tree, like we all know it's physically a different tree, but they hadn't ever addressed that it was a different tree, so we were kind of left wondering, is it meant to be the same tree?
I think that was a detailed conversation we had in the season 2 finale. We were like, well, you get to this relatively quickly, like compared to the other time.
Right. So yeah, we're confirming here they are definitely meant to be two different trees, and we're showing how nobody communicates because Boyd's like, what about the other tree? And Jade's like, what do you mean the other tree? You never told us there was another tree. So this is a big deal for Jade. He knows there's another tree, something else to look at. And in this scenario, if Jade's right about this alternate dimension theory, does Boyd's tree, the season 1 tree, equal to the tree in Henry's yard?
Oh, okay.
The one that's not a faraway tree.
Interesting.
Because there's 2 bottle trees now in each place.
Interesting. So perhaps that's where reality and whatever this is intersects, perhaps?
Is with the trees.
Yeah, okay.
Something about the trees. Yeah.
So Henry's in Victor's room. He's looking at a toy car.
An old pedal car.
That you can ride when Victor comes in. And he warns the story behind this. Mr. Davies was going to bring the...
Mrs. Davis.
Yep. Oh.
She bought the car for her son who was dying. She drove really far away to get it. But before she could get home...
She saw the tree.
She ended up here. And Victor says she's been dead for years now, so her son must be too.
Because he was actually ill
he was
at the
dying.
time. Yes. So Henry ends up asking if he will show him around, but Victor is going to go into the caves and thinks him tagging along for that would be a bad idea. Now, my question is, okay, so we're not bringing Sarah along for this ride anymore?
Apparently, Victor doesn't want to bring anybody else because he knows it's dangerous, so he's going by himself. I think that's a terrible idea. Like, literally, the first time I watch this, I'm saying, could you bring another human being? Doesn't have to be your dad, but bring somebody.
I don't think bringing a 70-year-old man is necessarily the greatest idea.
A 70-year-old man who has no experience with this place.
Right.
Jade would be a great option, except he's too preoccupied. Yeah, I thought we were bringing Sarah.
Yes.
Apparently, that's not the plan. He was going to go by himself.
But he does end up suggesting that Henry can walk with him for a while.
Right.
So Kenny is bringing in the stuff from the ambulance, and they're getting some new supplies, some new medications, and Kenny ends up leaving, encountering Boyd.
Yeah, Mariel kind of tells him, you can leave now, we don't need your help anymore. And you can tell that Kenny's upset by this. I think what's happening is he doesn't know his place anymore.
Right.
He doesn't have a place here with Christy. He doesn't have a place in his house. He's feeling lost. He's not even the deputy anymore.
Right.
So he don't know what to do with himself.
And Boyd ends up asking if he's okay. Kenny says he's not, but doesn't want to talk about it. Well, actually, first he says that he very much is. Boyd is not buying it, and Kenny says he just doesn't want to talk about it. Boyd goes inside to see a still suffering Randall, and he looks guilty. He goes to leave when he runs into Christy. She tells him he's doing better. Christy tells him about a portable ultrasound and to let Fatima know about it.
Yes, it came in on the ambulance so they can check out the baby.
He tells her not to mention... he tells her not to mention that Boyd came by. Basically, don't tell Randall that I was here.
Right.
And that it's showing concern. Fatima and Ellis says that they need to go to Christy.
So yeah, we meet up with them after their talk about the rotten food, and I'm questioning, Did they stay up talking about this all night? Because remember, it's the next day now.
Right. So I'm actually kind of curious how far this conversation went. Did she mention the fact that she was licking Nikki's blood?
Did we talk about Nikki, or did we just talk about vegetables?
Right.
Because I feel like that's a really different conversation.
He says that there's got to be a medical reason for all this. He reassures her that he is not afraid of her, and that's when Boyd knocks on the door with good news. Boyd knows something is up when he comes into the room, and they tell him to come inside, and presumably they're about to tell him all the weird stuff that Fatima has been going through.
Right. Or at least the vegetable part.
Right.
Because I don't feel like they know about the Nikki part.
No.
I don't feel like she told anybody that.
So Donna is bringing bricks to make a tomb for Dale.
Yeah, she's got all these big rocks that she's throwing into the pool. She's working really hard to take care of Dale's body.
She's approached by Tabitha. Tabitha says she was there for when Dale went through the tree. Donna says he probably had a shitty remark on the way out. He definitely did. And Tabitha feels like she's let down everyone with her family, that she has no answers. Donna points out the kids don't need answers from her, just having her back in one piece. And, the kids are the responsibility, not the whole town. And that she could have been Dale.
Right. She says, you went through the same tree. That could have been you down there. And she says, what you need to do now is just spend time with your kids and not be a hero.
Right.
And also during this conversation, Tabitha asked Donna how close she was with Dale. And her response was that Dale's been a pain in her ass for almost 2 years.
How long have Elizabeth Saunders and Cliff Saunders been married for?
Oh, I want to say 30 years?
30 years?
They had an anniversary recently. I might be wrong, but it was a big number.
So the actor has been in there pain in her ass for a lot longer.
A whole lot longer, yeah.
All right, so on the way to the caves, Henry is being filled in what he thinks this venture is going to do to help the people. And, I got to say, Victor up to this point hasn't really been too interested in finding answers or helping anybody.
Right, and now he's motivated.
Right, and I'm not sure by what exactly. Why is he all of a sudden motivated to help and to look for Jasper?
I think part of it is Tian Chen dying.
Okay.
Things are happening again. Things are real. He's a part of it now. He's not as
a stranger, so to speak.
Right. Before he kept himself so distanced, and now he's in it. He cares about these people now.
Right.
Because he let his walls down.
Okay. Good explanation.
And now he knows his dad's here.
Right. All right. All good motivating factors. Victor is prepared to say goodbye, but Henry says, I'm not going back to town. I'm going with you. I lost you once. I just got you back. I'm not going to lose you together again.
Right. And if you're going in there, we're doing it together.
Kind of very reminiscent of Boyd and Kenny.
Yeah.
When Kenny wanted to go in the caves and burn all the monsters.
Right. And now Victor's going to be using these little green army men as breadcrumbs to set their path.
Literally what my note says here. Like they're using them like breadcrumbs.
I think that the rope that Jade always uses when he goes in here is a much better idea.
Yeah.
To have something solid you can follow than these little tiny
At the same time,
boys.
It seems like a very Victorish idea.
Yeah.
Because he is a child when it comes down to it.
Right.
So Ellis finishes telling Fatima's story. This is when Boyd tells him that Christy has an ultrasound machine from the ambulance. Fatima is very reluctant. Boyd ends up giving them privacy, and Ellis tells Fatima that they just can't keep They just can't keep waiting and hoping that things will be okay. Fatima breaks down and eventually agrees to go. And she's all like, "Oh, I'll go tomorrow."
Yeah, she's clearly very scared to get the answers.
Yes, she wants the answers, but she really doesn't at the same time. And I can relate to that. So Muriel is taking care of Randall to change his bandages. He's awake, but not in a great mood.
Yeah, he resists at first, but she convinces him that she has to do it.
Because otherwise he might get an infection, and that's not something you want to do in this place.
So we get a good look at his incisions.
Yes.
Pretty crude stitches.
Yeah, I mean...
did Mariel do those?
I assume.
She didn't do a good job.
Well, it's not like she has a lot of skill or training with this.
But they're like really far apart and really big.
So he says he wants to see it. She gives him a mirror, and he quietly asks for a minute. And by the way, who's the actor who plays Randall? You have him in his notes?
Randall's A.J. Simmons.
A.J. Simmons. Really, really good in these scenes.
Yeah, this was a great scene.
Yes.
And the camera work.
Yes.
Whoever shot this the camera work, getting that shot of him looking in the mirror. Like, mirrors are hard to pull off with cameras.
Yes.
We see his face physically. We see his face in the mirror. So we're getting all angles of him and his response to what he's seeing without catching the camera on the mirror.
Yes.
Like, it was a great shot that they pulled that off.
Absolutely. And I do really enjoy Randall's scenes in general this week. He's being a butthead, but you kind of understand him being kind of cranky. And at the same time, you see the humanity in him.
Right.
Which is something that we were kind of missing a lot last season.
Yeah.
So he looks in the mirror and he's basically almost crying.
And you know what it reminded me of?
What?
Hostel.
Hostel?
Do you remember the movie Hostel?
Vaguely.
So there's this scene, and spoiler alert for Hostel, there's a scene near the end of the movie where the girl catches a glimpse of what she looks like after she's been disfigured.
Yeah.
And it makes her jump in front of a train.
Oh, wow.
By seeing what she looks like.
Gotcha.
And that's all I could think of when he asked for the mirror and then asked to be left alone, is I'm like, that's a bad idea to leave him alone right now while he sees how disfigured he is.
I mean, at the same time, you kind of want him to have his private reaction.
Sure, but that's all I could think of is this scene where this girl just was like, nope, I can't live knowing I look like that.
Right. So Kenny's at his house looking for something.
He's looking for his mother's screwdriver, which is supposed to be in the junk drawer, but it's not there.
And he smells something funny. And he goes outside and finds Julie. And, she's flirting with everybody now. she was flirting with, she was messing around with Elgin last week. She's kind of being a little flirty with Kenny here.
I didn't pick up on that.
Okay, maybe. I think... Actually, I don't think there was any flirtiness going on with that. That was more like being busted by...
She was like, you're not going to tell my parents, are
yeah.
you? Now, here's my thing. She's got the whole town, woods,
this
whole place. Why is she standing against her house doing this?
I don't know.
Like 2 feet from the door.
I mean...
With the door open.
Honestly, would she even care if her parents caught her? Be like,
maybe she wants to get caught. Maybe she wants to get in trouble.
Like, what are you going to do? Ground me?
Because she's so mad at her parents.
Yeah. I'm fine. I'll just go hang out with Fatima at the county house. Stop me. Like, for real. What are they going to do? What power do they have in this situation? Take away my phone?
Well, she says to Kenny, you're not going to tell on me, are you? And he says, well, listen, if you get caught, I was never here. He's like, I'm not going to tell, but I'm not going to, stand up for you either.
And, that would kind of be my position. That's the exact position that I would take. Like, I'm not going to rat you out, but I'm not going to defend you either.
Right.
So that's another resemblance between me and Kenny.
There you go.
So he looks at he's basically looking for a screwdriver. He mentions it to her, and he says that his dad probably moved things around because that's what he does when he's restless.
She said that her dad, rather.
What?
You said he. An important distinction.
Yes.
Julie says this.
Well, yeah, Kenny's dad is not doing that at this point. Kenny's dad is very dead. But yeah, so she realizes that she said something wrong.
Okay, so the deal is, this is his house. This is the Lou house.
Yeah.
His parents are both dead now. And her family comes in and starts moving things around.
Right.
They've taken over the house. They're not guests in the house anymore. He is.
Right.
He's the outsider staying in their house at this point.
That makes sense. And he reassures her that, this is not a big deal, so on and so forth. He goes inside, he looks at the memorial plates of his mom and dad. And then we cut to Victor and Henry in the caves. This is very reminiscent of when Tabitha and Victor were
Very
in the
much
caves.
so.
Yeah.
Victor keeps having to shush Henry a lot, much like what we dealt with Tabitha.
Yes.
But Jasper isn't where Victor last saw him, nor any of the other items that were supposed to be in this room. He mentions the clock and a wheelchair were right here. So he says they have to keep looking and they have to go in deeper.
And Henry is not thrilled with this.
Yeah, it seems like a bad idea. I'm with you, Henry.
Yeah, me too. Ellis comes outside to talk to his dad. Elgin is taking pictures with a Polaroid camera. Oh, yeah, so basically he says that Fatima is coming. And he gets a little pat in his back from his dad, who I'm sure just does not know how to be reassuring at this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, would you know how to be reassuring in this moment?
Yeah, probably not.
So Elgin is taking pictures with a Polaroid camera and snaps one of a very confused Fatima.
Yeah, you're going to get better pictures if you don't just randomly take pictures of people while they're walking downstairs.
Also, there's this thing called maybe getting a person's permission to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, even I do that, with my taking videos of every little
Do
thing.
you?
I mean, okay, so I warn people in advance, hey, this is what's going to happen.
You warn people in advance that, like, it's happening.
Yeah.
Any moment, there's a camera on you.
All right, but at the same time, if someone says, I don't want to be in this, I will respect that and
Right.
make sure not to include them. But yeah, so she goes out to Boyd and Ellis, and off to Christie they go. Jade goes to the other bottle tree, and who should appear but Tom the bartender, played by our great friend Reed Price.
Dead Tom is here, and Jade is not happy to see him, but I am.
Me too. And Jade kind of laughs at Tom, who's wiping a glass out in the middle of nowhere.
He's wiping a glass, and Tom tells him how ironic it is that a drunk is looking for answers in a tree full of bottles. So Tom's kind of egging Jade on a bit.
Right. And Tom says that nature has a design, but this tree is not designed by nature. Maybe it means something, or maybe someone thought it did, or maybe it means absolutely nothing. Jade uses Miranda as evidence, saying, hey, you don't just have hallucinations about nothing, or visions about nothing. I don't know about that. I don't know that that's necessarily true.
Right. Well, that's what Tom comes back with. He's like, what about your visions? The Civil War soldiers or the guy with the boulder? Like, what did they mean? And Jade's like, well, that was different. But then he admits, well, maybe this is nothing. He doesn't know. Maybe it's a waste of time. He's like, Tom, at least come help me with these bottles.
Right.
Like, do something.
And Tom starts to annoy him, and Tom's like, oh, are you mad, Jade? And then he says, hey, maybe you should have a thicker skin.
Yeah,
like
he says the guy that built the multi-million-dollar company, or was it multi-billion, whichever it was.
I don't know, either one.
Should had thicker skin, so I suggest you sober up and give that guy a call.
And then he's gone.
And yeah, before Jade can respond, Tom is gone.
And Jade yells after him, hey, there's a nicer way to make a point.
Yeah, but so all of this is, whatever Tom is telling Jade, like, hey, maybe you'll get further if you're not drunk. So that's the end result of this conversation.
I'm assuming that the entity that is Tom, if it's not Tom himself, is trying to be helpful here.
Yeah, I definitely think Dead Tom is a helpful force for Jade. So I was really happy that Tom got a scene not in the bar.
Yes.
I thought every time we're going to see him, he's going to be stuck in the bar. I thought it was great that he got to be out in the woods.
Yeah.
Meaning Jade can see him anywhere, you know.
And Tom is acting very jovial, which goes back to my original point of, was Reed Price even acting here, or was he just happy to be back on set?
Yeah. So, I said watching this, I bet Reed was really cold shooting this. He's wearing his short sleeve Tom outfit.
Yep.
But I don't have to bet because I got to ask him.
Okay.
So I talked to Reed about this scene.
Yep.
Reed, who's busy filming season 3 of Sullivan's Crossing right now.
Yeah, well, we're talking about season 2.
We're talking about season 2. They're filming season 3. But I talked to him about filming this scene for From, and I asked him, I said, was it cold? Like, you were shooting in the woods in short sleeves. Like, what was that about? And here, I will quote him here. He says, literally the coldest day of the entire shoot. But I survived just fine, though, and was excited to be back.
I could tell. Based on his performance, I could tell he was excited.
And, kudos to all of the cast for enduring the cold winter shoots. Like, they're not used to filming anything in the winter in Nova Scotia, and they all did it to get this season of television to us.
Mm-hmm.
But the living characters are all got to bundle up because their characters are cold, so they're putting on more clothes. Dead Tom here is just wearing what he wears.
Right.
So Reed did not get to bundle up. He's literally in short sleeves.
I'm actually kind of curious. Why does Jade have such a connection to Tom?
I don't know. Maybe it's just because he's living in the bar.
Gotcha. I mean, is it just that, or is it...
Or maybe it's because they both have this philosophical mind space.
Right. I mean, I guess, so whatever scene he did have with him back in season 1 before he died was enough to cement this connection between the two of them. I'm not really totally clear on that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're just, kind of similar spirits. They're, here by themselves, and they just have kind of a similar mindset to the way the world works.
Gotcha.
I don't know. But I'm glad that we have this connection.
Oh, of course.
It means we get to see more of Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ethan is reading something of Mrs. Wu when Tabitha comes home. He asks if Tian Chen is with her husband now, and if they were happy when they got married. Tabitha sees through this and apologizes for him hearing the bite. Ethan says that the good thing about being scared all the time back in the day is there was no time for arguing.
And he literally says, I wish it could be like that again.
So, wow.
I'm pretty sure our little voice of reason just wished for things to be scarier.
Right.
Because he said it was scarier back then, and that was better. Because we
Right.
didn't have time to fight. So, I'm going to say no, Ethan. I don't like that you said this. It seems like a really bad idea in this place to make a wish for something like, I wish scarier stuff happened to us.
Right. Yeah.
That seems like a bad call.
Right.
Because anything you say here definitely can come to life.
Right. We've noticed that with Boyd. Boyd said that thing about, not being beaten down. And they took it to basically torture Boyd more with that. So, he asked about Jade being across the street. I'm not totally sure why. I didn't really catch
He said,
why.
that's what you're fighting about, right?
About Jade?
And yeah, I was confused by that.
Yeah.
Are we heading to a Jabitha?
I hope so. I would kind of like to see it. They have plenty of chemistry together, more so than, Jim and Tabitha. So, and then she hears someone walking upstairs. Ethan doesn't hear this. She goes to investigate, and she sees the Angui kid, who starts seeing Angui, and for some reason she's scared of them.
She sees 3 of them, one in each room, and then as she looks to go back down the stairs, another one's coming up the stairs, and she cowers in the stairwell.
Why? Like, at this point, she knows that she went,
Right.
what she's here to do is to help these kids.
Yeah, but she's freaked out because, she's Tabitha.
Right.
So we have here Ghoulish Child number 2, number 3, and number 4.
Are they reprising their roles?
And they are reprising their roles. My first thought looking at them is they look a little bigger.
Yeah.
And that's because they are. They're literally the same kids. Ghoulish Child number 2, Isabel Del Dagan, reprising role. We saw her in 203, 205, and 210. She was one of the 2 that was like holding hands that we saw a lot of.
Gotcha.
And Ghoulish Child 3 is Atlin Hood, who was in 205 and 210. And Ghoulish Child 4 is William Chivalry, who is in 205 and 210. So props.
I wonder if them and Simon Webster hung out again.
Probably. But props to them for using the same kids. Because with this heavy makeup, they could have easily just been like, yeah, there's some kids, whatever.
Right.
And recast them. But they didn't. They kept the same kids, even though it feels a little weird that they're getting bigger.
Right.
But we have continuity here that these are the kids. It's not like there's 50 kids, there are 7 of them. And we're staying in context of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that given how long it takes to actually film these seasons, that eventually they're going to have to replace those kids.
Well, I mean, it depends what they're going to do with them. Maybe we solve this and move on to other problems.
Maybe. Perhaps.
I feel like the boy in white's a bigger problem. Because he feels like he needs to be a constant.
Yeah.
And he don't look... Like, it's so funny because people thought they recast him. Because he looked so different than he did 2 seasons ago. 3 years ago when season 1 was being filmed.
Right. I mean, that happens, unfortunately. So, they all surround her. They disappear when Ethan comes up to ask if she's okay. And Tabitha and Ethan nope out of there.
Yeah. So he said, Ethan knows. He goes, oh, is it the children? He knew exactly what her problem was. And then he's the one that says, let's go outside. So he's back to being the mature one again.
Right.
Dealing with his mom now. So he came back from wishing that things got scarier and his mom got scared. and then he's like, okay, we need to walk out of here.
So Donna is still burying Dale.
Yeah, she finished it. It looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to use this as a swimming pool anymore.
No.
I was hoping we were going to get a pool built, but I don't think so after we have a grave literally inside it.
No. There's just now a tomb inside the pool. That kind of puts a damper on it, like, having fun and swimming around.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to swim with the dead body.
Then again, all these people are maybe dead at some point. And they're going to not know that there's a tomb here, and they're going to maybe build a swimming pool.
Maybe. And then they're going to be like, why are all these rocks in here?
So, he wants to move into County House.
Kenny. I don't think you even got as far as saying Kenny joins her.
I didn't say that?
I didn't hear you say that.
Okay. So, he joins her. He wants to move into County House with his mom gone. He has no need for the house anymore. It's not really a home.
He said the house belongs with a family.
Yeah.
He doesn't fit in there. She says there's always room at Colony House for him. Go pack your bags. But he hopes they don't have those sex parties anymore.
Right. Yeah, I don't blame him for that. Some of the people that I saw were not attractive people. But anyway. So Jade works on the walls, on his wall when Tabitha and Ethan comes in, despite saying he's busy. He softens when he realizes that Ethan is with her, which is curious.
Right. Ethan wants to... So she's like, oh, I told Ethan we could help you solve the puzzle. And he realizes perhaps that Ethan needs it. I think more than that, Tabitha needs it.
Yeah.
And yeah, this definitely felt like a win for Jabitha.
Yeah.
That he instantly was like, oh yeah, great. Let's work together.
Right.
Even though he was like, no, you're interrupting me, go away. And then he was like, oh yeah, you want to help? Of course you can help.
Right. So he explains what he's doing, and he enlists Ethan's help in finding the pattern in the numbers.
Yeah, he says that the messages in the two trees are identical, except the ones in Boyd's tree are written out in cursive. They're all the same numbers, and some of them repeat many times over. But he's optimistic that somewhere in here is a key, something they need to understand.
So Muriel gives Randall instructions in the clinic, and he says he heard her the first time. And Muriel insists on making her point about infection, but he's in no mood.
Yeah, so he's being discharged and being sent back to the bus is what's about to happen.
Yeah, and he's just in no mood to, like, look, I heard you. Like, you don't need to keep telling me this. I heard you. And he's being a major butthead here, like
he's
usual.
being Randall.
But Muriel has an excellent bedside manner.
Yeah.
Even dealing with a person who's basically being an asshole.
Right.
So, points for her, by the way. He asks her, why are you pretending to be okay? She doesn't answer the question, and he asks her, what if what happened isn't over?
Which seems like pretty good foreshadowing that something else is going to happen with these three.
Yep. And she starts to say, what happened to them wasn't real. That's what she's going to say.
Well, she said what happened wasn't. And he's like, what? Wasn't real?
And then he asks, what's real anymore? And if you experience something, regardless of whether it's real, it's still an experience that you had.
Yeah, is any of this real?
Right. Randall says, being here, you can pretend in the clinic. You can pretend to be okay. But Randall doesn't get to pretend while on the bus. It's very real for him. And it's terrifying out there. So she says, well, then don't go back to the bus. Stay here. And he seems surprised by that act of kindness on her part. And he accepts.
Yeah, so he is going to move into the clinic permanently.
Another quietly really good scene between these two.
You know what? Maybe these two can date.
Maybe.
And we can, let Christy have Kenny.
There we go. So Henry and Victor are in the tunnels. Henry is straight up not having a good time, bro.
Victor's almost out of the army men.
Yes.
What are we going to do?
But he finds the area that they're looking for.
There's more shushing.
Right.
Henry's being very loud.
Right, exactly.
He's
like that.
not understanding the problem here.
I would understand the problem. If I'm wandering around dark caves and somebody's telling me to shush, and I've been in this town for a while.
Well, he's been there for one day.
I mean, fair enough, but he knows all about the monsters
Yeah.
and all this stuff. And, okay, and sure enough, there sits Jasper.
Yeah, they find the cavern and all the stuff's in it.
Including a sleeping monster.
We see the clock that he was looking for. There's a baby buggy, the wheelchair, a bird cage, the luggage with the stickers on it. Basically, everything we've seen before has been moved into this one cavern. There's a bicycle, a painting, a tea set, a vase that has fresh flowers in it. Not dead flowers. There's fresh flowers on this table. So the monsters have been setting up house.
That's cute. Adorable.
And yeah, at the tea party is Jasper sitting in a chair, creature in the corner. I'm pretty sure that's John McNeil's mechanic creature.
It did look like him, yeah.
I think that's who it is. It's hard to tell in the makeup. Because there is another creature that has a kind of similar outfit, but I'm pretty sure that's who that was.
So the monsters stir, and then... Oh, yeah, okay. So, there's a sleeping monster nearby. And then Henry notices something that used to belong to his wife, and he starts to get loud. The monsters stir, and then a voice from the dark says, which is one of the monsters, says, you know, Victor, and Victor shines a light on him, if you keep coming down here, we're going to make you stay. And then they run for it.
Yeah, so this is Swing Coat Creature, is how she's credited. I guess that's the style of coat she's wearing.
All right, so...
this is her first credit. We've seen this creature before, but this must be the first time she speaks. And that actress is Beth Rogers, and it's her first credit overall.
Oh, cool. So I'm going to point out the fact that the monsters very easily could have just gotten them.
They don't want to get them.
They made no effort whatsoever.
No, they wanted to give him a little warning.
Yes.
But yeah, they don't care that he's taking the doll, Jasper.
Yeah.
They're not chasing them.
Right.
They let him go.
Yes.
And this creature, she's in human form. She's not like asleep and decrepit like the other one is.
Right.
She's awake and conscious and in her human form and talking to him.
I'm not sure what that means exactly. It definitely means that they could be awake during the day.
Right.
I don't know that they can leave these caves at all.
Right, we don't know.
Right.
But yeah, it was Miranda's scarf that Martin found. And of course, he became overwhelmed with emotion when he saw that and just couldn't shut up. Then he takes her scarf.
So Julie sees Randall packing and asks if he's moving out. And he makes a joke about going to a sweet condo down the road. And then tells her where he's really going. And she asks how Marielle is doing. And he says she's acting like nothing happened. And then asks how she's doing, being a human being for a change, by the way.
But it was funny because he gave a classic, like, how you doing?
Right, yeah.
The way he said it. And she says, she gets stoned a lot, and that helps.
And he asks her if he's got anything on her now, and she smiles and shows him what he got.
Yeah.
All right, now she's flirting with Randall.
Sorry, Elgin.
Right.
Because...
I mean, I guess he's more the bad boy type. How old is Randall compared to Julie? Not that it really matters in this place.
Definitely think Randall's older than Elgin.
Yeah.
I think Elgin is a little more age appropriate for Julie.
Right, but, I'm not one to judge.
But, yeah, she's not going to care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess Randall and Julie are going to go smoke now.
All right, so are we really going with the 40 thing here? Is that what's going on here? Or are we just kind of...
I picked it up here, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we'd already kind of, had this, little nod to this before, right?
With Randall?
Yeah, she's been looking.
Okay. I don't remember that specifically, but I see it. He's definitely, the bad boy type that women seem to like, especially at her age.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's going anywhere, but I definitely think that there's a flirty nature between them.
I definitely think we're probably going to get more scenes between the two of them. I think that's setting that up.
Well, remember, they have this connection.
Right.
Them and Mariel
the
dealt with something.
Yeah.
So they have a lot to bond over.
Mm-hmm.
And especially since Mariel's the one who's, pretending it didn't happen. And these two are both, really dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably both feel like nobody else understands them except each other. So I can see them becoming very close because of this. And having this shared experience. And now that they're actually going to, talk about it together. We've got a little bond here.
Gotcha.
But I think this is going to upset Elgin.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elgin.
Yeah.
So now we can see him, not sleep and maybe go into a violent, jealous rage. I mean, there's always Sarah, but I think he kind of put that to bed.
Yeah. So he was between Julie and Sarah. What Sarah got going on?
I don't know.
We didn't see Sarah this episode.
No, and because we built up her and Victor going into these caves.
Well, hopefully she'll be involved in interrogating Jasper since she knows about that.
Oh, okay. When we get around to interrogating the puppet. Make the puppet talk. Anyway, so Victor and Henry get to a trailer.
They go to the fruit truck.
Right, yes. And he wants to know why they had that Shaw of Miranda's. And Victor says he doesn't know, but sometimes they take things. Victor has Jasper now, so now they can save the people. And they have to make the puppet talk. Okay, show, whatever you say. Anyway.
Yeah. And it was a great little emotional scene. Like Victor was talking about how, this truck is someplace he goes and he used to hide here. And Henry really, I think, realizes how alone his son was for so long.
And, also that he's kind of messed up in the head because he's trying to interrogate a puppet.
And Henry's like, that's a toy. Are you, he's concerned for his son's
mental well-being?
Exactly. He thinks that, he doesn't see anything here other than his son is a little crazy. And he's trying to talk him down. He's like, that's a toy. But Victor's very persistent.
All right, so we cut to the ultrasound scene. Christy ends up taking a look, but they find absolutely nothing.
There is no baby.
She is not pregnant, according to them. All right, so how exactly did they determine that she was pregnant in the first place?
She took a pregnancy test, didn't she?
I thought so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, which could lead to false positives.
It could be, but she's been experiencing morning sickness and all these crazy symptoms that all seem to align with pregnancy.
didn't Mariel check her out
And said the baby's fine.
Right. I mean, maybe was she bullshitting her and just like kind of being reassuring?
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused here.
I'm confused here too, and I don't like it.
Yeah. So she gets upset. She insists that she is pregnant.
She says there's something inside her.
She looks again. Chrissy looks again. Nothing. Ella says they need to, and at this point they need to tell them what she's been experiencing.
Yeah.
The whole rotten fruit thing, possibly the whole.
And they all just kind of look at each other. We're not going to get their response to that just yet.
So Elgin looks at the pictures.
He's hanging all the Polaroids up on like a string in Colony House, making a little display.
He's looking at Fatima's picture, and suddenly, coming into view, is the kimono girl inside the picture. And then she appears right next to him and says, "Help me! I can save you. I can get you all home. All home." All right, WTF?
Now, do you know what this reminds me of?
What?
An awful lot of the kill the boy voice.
That's exactly what I was thinking. This made me really suspicious that this kimono girl is not necessarily up to good.
Yeah, she's like, I can save you, I can get you all home. Well, what are you going to tell him he has to do to make that happen?
Right.
Because Sarah had voices. Now, she didn't see anybody, but she had voices telling her, if you do this, this, and this, I'm going to save you, I'm going to get you all home.
Right.
And what that voice wanted her to do was kill people.
Right. So, I'm a little concerned about where we're taking Elgin here with this.
Right.
But anyway, the hallucination is interrupted by Clara, who, the actress, by the way, is someone that we're probably going to interview in the near future because she has expressed interest in doing so. So, eventually, hopefully, we'll be able to talk to the actress who plays Clara.
And that is Katerina Bakalias.
And he looks at the picture again. The kimono girl isn't there.
Yeah, so she disappeared not only from his physical manifestation of her, and she's like touching him in this. She has a presence.
Yeah.
She also disappeared from the photo. Now, I'm pretty certain people are going to use this scene to double down on the theory that is Fatima, because she appeared in Fatima's photo.
Well, I'm vaguely curious if the kimono girl, I think we brought this up before. I think we brought up the possibility that the kimono girl has something to do with Fatima's pregnancy.
Right. But I don't know how.
How or why. But I think that kind of reinforces the idea that somehow Fatima and the baby and kimono girl.
But there is no baby.
Well, yes. So, yeah, at this point, that kind of, if there's no baby, if there's no actual baby, that means Fatima herself is transforming into something.
Turning into a creature of some kind.
Yes.
Which I thought she was anyways, but I still thought there was a baby involved.
Right. I guess not currently, unless there's a cloaking device in the baby or something.
It just can't be picked up on,
Maybe.
on an ultrasound.
That is actually a possibility. Perhaps the ultrasound cannot pick up the images
Creatures?
of the baby. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm so confused by all of that. I don't know what they're doing.
Right, but I'm intrigued.
Now, the fact that Clara's the one who pops up,
Yep.
the image goes away, she's just sus as always.
Right.
Still watching Clara, who still, after 6 episodes, has been in every single episode this season.
Interesting.
None of the side characters are in every single episode.
Right.
None of the
main cast.
characters.
The main cast haven't been in all of the episodes. Yeah, it's interesting. So we might be going somewhere with that.
I'm pretty positive something is up with Clara. I don't know what. I don't know if it's good or bad, but Clara is going to have some big plot point in the back half of the season. I'm almost positive of it.
Well, we're there, so we're coming fast on the end.
I know.
So we'll find out soon. And so Ethan and Jade go through the numbers, and Jade, has him work on that. And
some of the digits appear backwards in some of the times, which they don't know what that means, but it must mean something.
He goes, lets Ethan work this out. He talks to Tabitha and tells her the kids are not going to hurt her because they want her help, which is exactly the point I brought up earlier.
Right.
I don't understand why
But
she's afraid of that.
She's like, I don't know that they want my help. Miranda's the one who said that. I'm taking the word of, a dead woman's vision from 40 years ago.
And when you put it that way, it sounds a little crazy. So she pulls out a picture of the creepy statue thingy.
It's a sketch in Jade's book.
Right.
So when he was there, remember, all he was doing was drawing things in his book. So it's a sketch he made of the little talisman totem things. And she recognizes it.
And she has a flash of her as a kid in a dream, seeing 3 red stones in a circle. She saw this as a nightmare as a kid. It was a repeated nightmare, and that is where the episode...
And she's like, "Were there these 3 stones there?" And Jade's like, "How did you know about them?" And we see in this, again, this flashback, dream, weird, whatever this is, sequence, the little girl screams at something she sees. And Tabitha says, Miranda isn't the only one who had visions of this place. I just didn't realize it. I had this nightmare all the time when I was a kid. Similar to how Abby, remember, she mentioned having a dream when she was a kid.
Yep.
And the credit for this, I find it very interesting that it's not credited as young Tabitha. The credit is for young girl.
Okay.
And she's played by Vivian Crooks. This is her very first credit. But I find that really interesting because does it mean she's not literally meant to be Tabitha? But so Tabitha was just harnessing, like, something from this girl in her dreams? Like, could she literally be a different person that was here?
Okay,
that
so
Tabitha was dreaming about?
She was having, like, some kind of vision of a little girl that was there?
Right.
Interesting.
Because it doesn't say young Tabitha. It says young girl.
Right.
Which feels... I don't know. I feel like it would have said young Tabitha if that was meant to be what Tabitha looked like as a child.
Right.
Or was she here as a child?
That would be interesting.
And has repressed those memories. Or was it literally just like what Miranda experienced? She was experiencing some vision of this place. Another interesting thing is that girl appears to be dressed in really old clothes. Mm-hmm. Like, matching to the colonial man. Like, it looked like some Little Red Riding Hood type clothes.
So that would be consistent with the people that we've seen in visions in that
So,
spot.
yeah, I feel like maybe that little girl existed hundreds of years ago.
Interesting.
And Tabitha was somehow pulling from her conscious
that
or
memory.
a vision of her or something.
Okay.
It kind of goes along with the reincarnation theory that a lot of people have been talking about online the last couple weeks.
Okay.
People specifically suggesting that she is Miranda reincarnated. Miranda died 40 years ago. She's in her mid-30s.
Makes sense.
But could she be reincarnated 100 times over and she was this little girl?
So they keep coming back to the same
like
place.
That she is spiritually linked to this place and just keeps coming here in every lifetime. I mean, if they're going reincarnation, that would make sense. You know what it gave me is La Brea vibes. I don't think you watched La Brea.
I watched a little bit of it. I didn't...
But, like, if this is meant to be Tabitha, I feel like it's telling us she was here in a different time. Gotcha. And that's a big plot point of La Brea, is that a character was, actually born thousands of years ago and then went through a time rift or whatever. So it felt like that. I was getting La Brea vibes.
Okay.
So, like, was she born in a different time and somehow ended up in modern times?
Well,
or is this not her? Or what is any of this?
You know, it's interesting to me that...
Is this girl one of the children?
Right. When we first saw this location, I didn't realize that we were going to be seeing it in every single episode.
Well, it hasn't been every episode.
Mostly. But I also didn't realize that this was going to be an important place.
Right.
That it has turned out to be. It seems like something here is really, really important.
Something is very important happening here. Yeah, definitely. It's a big part of the story. We just don't know what the story is.
Right.
We don't know what we don't know what the question is that we're trying to get answers to.
But yeah, I thought this would be like a throwaway location. We weren't going to see it again. And that has proven to be wrong.
That's definitely not true.
Yeah.
And what is the little girl in the dream vision, whatever it is, whoever she is, screaming at?
Right.
It's like something came over her and she looked up and she screams.
Maybe it was a smoke creature.
I don't think of that, but...
No.
I don't know, does it have something to do with the totems? Like, a lot of people suggested the totems come alive.
Right.
Or are the totems protecting them from something here, something worse than the town creatures?
Yeah.
Or is she about to get killed?
Right.
Like, save the children?
Right.
Like...
Yeah.
I don't know, there's so many questions.
Save the cheerleader. Anyway.
Save the children, save the tower.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, Jade needs to take Tabitha to the cabins.
Yes.
So she can see this and see what else memories come up for her.
I'm assuming that's where we're going now.
I'm assuming that's where we're going with these characters. And maybe they'll,
run in with Jim while he's there.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be dead.
And then they can start their romance together.
Yes. Or they can start anyway. She's supposed to be getting a divorce, right?
Yeah, yeah. Do it up.
So as far as our cast, not in this episode from our main cast was Sarah, Tilly, Bacta, Elgin, and Acosta. They were all absent.
Interesting.
And there were no guest stars this week. Reed did not get guest star level. He was put in additional cast.
Oh, okay.
The only person who ever has guest star appearances so far has been Father Cautry and Abby. They get the role of guest star.
Reed should get like special.
I expected him to be guest star, but I guess his contract doesn't call for that.
Okay.
And that's it. That's all I got for cast. We've covered everybody.
All right. Do we have anything else to say about this episode?
Again, it just feels like kind of connecting between different stories.
Chess moving.
Yeah. Like
we're moving people in position.
So, I don't think anyone's going to remember this episode specifically.
Mm-hmm.
You'll remember little things that happened in this episode, and you'll be like, when did that happen? I don't know.
Right, yeah. Other than Fatima's, like, non-pregnancy, the fact that there's no baby in there, which I knew we were going to see something terrible. I thought we were going to see, like, a monster, like something with horns or something.
Or Jamie Maguire's face.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, there's not a ton of really memorable scenes.
Yeah. It's just kind of like things are moving. It was moving day.
Yeah.
Randall's moving into the clinic.
Yep.
Kenny's moving into Colony House.
It's kind of like it's basically a transition episode.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly what it is.
Connecting tissue.
It's putting our characters in new places, both physically and story-wise.
Right.
And setting up our next set of stories.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Which I'm eager to get to.
Me too.
I want to know what happens next. I want to know what the heck is going on with Tabitha in this place.
Yep.
I'm not loving whatever's happening with the baby and kimono lady, but I want to know where we're going with it.
Right. Is it you don't like the story?
I need to know where it goes.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm just not feeling it. You know.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, what are they doing?
Right. Okay.
I feel a little bit like I did about like the ballerina.
Yeah.
Which I still don't know. What was that about? Why? What was the ballerina plot about? I don't know still.
Right.
It feels like it was a waste of space because it never went anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that'll come back too. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. So is that it?
That's all I got for today.
All right. We'd like to hear from you. What did you think of the episode? What did you think of this podcast? Any thoughts that you share with us? We will shout you out eventually. Stacie, we reached at.
I reached on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads at TVN Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of the Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy. You can join the Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can share, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribe to the channel. And, of course, you can also hit the bell to be notified when new content drops. This is Dave and Stacie from Corn Productions, signing off.